verse number 6, فَوَاجِبٌ لِرَبِّنَا الْوُجُودُ قِدَمَهُ ثُمَّ الْبَقَى الْمَمْدُودُ. Thus it is necessary that our Lord have 1. Existence, 2. Pre-existence, then 3. Everlastingness extended to infinity. And as we explained this morning, when he says it is necessary, he means by that it is an obligation of the intellect. It is necessary in the intellect in terms of the dictates of pure reason that we establish these attributes of God. They are indicated clearly and unequivocally by the revelation. They are supported by pure reason, and they are also indicated by the study of customary experience. The first of these attributes is necessary existence, and we talked about that this morning. And we said also this morning that necessary existence is regarded to occupy a category that is uniquely its own. So it belongs to the category of what is called the ontological attribute, or more literally translated from Arabic, the self attribute, as-sifatun nafsiyya. Okay, so this is really important. And in the realm of possible existence, which is the realm of all creation, the possibilities of possible things are how many? How many are they? These glasses belong, like me and you and everything else in the world, to the realm of possible existence. Here they are, they exist. They could also not exist. They could be destroyed. Okay? And they have attributes which we could describe. We could talk about the weight of the glasses. We could talk about the lenses of the glasses. We could talk about the color of the glasses. We could talk about so many things. Okay? How many other possibilities do these glasses have other than the ones that are manifest in them? For every single attribute that you can designate that has been limited, delimited in these glasses to make them what they are, there is an infinite set. There is a potential infinite set of other possibilities. The glasses are black. Couldn't they be white? Couldn't they be blue? Couldn't they be red? Couldn't they be golden? Couldn't they be silver? Couldn't they be polka dot? They could be infinitely different. And their shape is the shape they have. How many other shapes could they have? Infinite. That's really important. That's really important. So the possibilities of possible things are unlimited. And that does not mean that everything is possible. These glasses have certain necessities. They must be delimited in time and space. They must occupy space. And they must be delimited in time. And they must have certain relations with regard to everything else. I'm touching them. Now I'm not. Now we're connected. Now we're disconnected. They are close. If I threw them across the room, they would be far away. These are all necessary contingencies that pertain to these glasses. Okay? It's not possible for a mountain to exist that doesn't have a top. And it's got to have a top. It's got to be delimited. It cannot exist in time and space without the delimitation of possibilities. It's really important. It cannot exist in time and space without the delimitation of possibilities. And that is the role of necessary existence. That is the role of the one whose existence is not possible. It is necessary. He is the source of all cause and effect. He is the creator. He is the one. Okay, so that's very important. And for that reason, these glasses too are a sign. And they belong to the alam. They belong to the world, which is a sign of God, a banner of God. Okay? These glasses cannot possibly exist of their own or on their own. It's not possible. It is impossible that these glasses just happened. Okay? These are ordered. These are organized. You know, all these bodies that occupy the world that we occupy, they all have order. And order can be described numerically, mathematically. They all have composition. They all have parts, right? And the most simple aspect of this composition is order. That first we have this, then we have this, then we have this. They're all ordered. It's in line, one thing after another. Can order happen randomly? Absolutely not. Totally impossible. Random does not exist. Chance does not exist. Chance exists in the sense that things happen that are not of my knowledge, not of my will, not of your will, not under my power. When I first went to pilgrimage a long time ago, I came from Egypt, and there was a man who I would pray with because he had a little mosque, on my street, one of those little corner mosques. I thought he was a saint. He was a very good man, Egyptian from Upper Egypt. And I was astounded by Mecca. I had actually seen it in a dream like the night before I came. Saw myself walking in the haram. Then I found myself walking in the haram. I was in a dream. And the next day I had to go up to the second floor just to look at the Kaaba for hours and hours. And then I turned around and there he is sitting right behind me. We weren't on the same airplane. I didn't even know he was coming to Hajj. So is that chance? Yes. But that means I didn't know it. I didn't will it. I didn't make it happen. I didn't plan it, nor did he. But God did, right? God put him there as a sign. That cannot happen by chance. Again, order, mathematical order is the basic characteristic of these things. Okay? And what is the possibility of mathematical order? Let's take 10 objects, like 10 marbles. They're all the same size. They all have the same surface, not some are rough and some are soft. They're all the same. Okay, and then we number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I put them in my pocket. Okay, and we mix them up. And now I want to put my hand in my pocket, draw out number 1 first. What is the possibility that I can do that? 1 to 10, because there are 10 marbles. Okay, mashallah, we drew out number 1 first. Amazing. Now we put it back, mix them up again. I want to pull out number 2 second. What's the possibility? 1 to 100. To pull out number 2 second without order, 1 to 10. But if I want to have an order, 1, 2, that's different. Now I have to multiply the possibilities of drawing out number 1 first with the possibility of drawing out number 2. I want to now pull out number 3 in order. 1 to 1,000. That's not so easy to do. That might take us all day. Okay, now we put the marble back in the pocket, we mix it up. We want to pull out number 4 fourth. 1 to 10,000. And the possibility that we could actually sit here and mix the marbles in our pocket, pull out number 1 first, mashallah, mix the marbles, pull out number 2 second, mashallah, mix the marbles, pull out number 3 third, mashallah, we did it. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, we did it. What is the probability that would happen? 1 to 10 billion. 1 to 10 billion. Meaning that if we are drawing a marble out of our pocket every second, we will need approximately 325 years to get the order right. Maybe one time in about 325 years. That's longer than the time that the sleepers stayed in the cave. We might get it once. So what does that tell you? That tells you that nothing happens by chance. Not possible. Impossible. Everything happens by will. Everything happens by power. Everything happens by knowledge. That's really important. And here we didn't even study chance. We didn't even study random, because who made the marbles? The marbles didn't just happen. They were manufactured. Who put the numbers on the marbles? We did that for our experiment. We put them in a pocket. We limited the space. And how were they drawn out? By my hand, by my will, by my power. And the only aspect of chance here is that I did not see the one that I drew out. So in other words, this impossible chance, this impossible random, which would take us over 325 years to possibly get that order once, it occurred in a thimble. The thimble that you put on the tip of your finger when you sew. It's nothing. Okay, this is really important, and this is pure reason. This is why when we look at the world around us, it has got to have an explanation. It cannot explain itself. The finite points to the infinite. The finite cannot give an account of itself. And again, if we go back to the glasses, for that reason, these glasses, as long as they exist, if they exist for 1 million years, and if something happens on the earth and human beings are wiped out, whatever happens, and somebody discovers them, they will know that there were intelligent beings on the earth. Because as long as these glasses exist, there is a connection in pure reason between them and their maker. And their maker is a human being. We know that by custom. That's not a problem. Their maker is 1 million times more amazing than they are, and 1 million times more in need of a maker. But there is an intelligent being. You know that that intelligent being, or those beings who work to make these glasses, you know they existed, right? How do you know? Because this exists. As long as it exists, it is a sign saying, pointing to its maker. These glasses cannot exist on their own. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Whoever made these glasses, he or she or they, were alive. The whole world and everything that is in the world is a sign. It is an ayah, points to the one. And it shows us that he exists. And it shows us that he is a living God. And it shows us that he is the God of will, who designates that these things will be, and that he is the God of power and wisdom and goodness, the necessary being. But again, he is not like the maker of the glasses, because the maker of the glasses here, who is your brother or my brother or sister in Japan or wherever they may be, this is the most remarkable creation that ever was. We have eyes with which to see. The eyes that we have are remarkable. They are miraculous. And those of you who studied medicine or biology, you know how incredibly miraculous this human being is, and all animals are. We have DNA. My father was one of the people who studied DNA. He was a veterinarian. He had a PhD in veterinary medicine. He had a PhD also in organic biology, organic chemistry. And I remember when DNA was discovered, he brought me the Scientific American. It was to him like one of the greatest things of his life. And then that's what he studied for the rest of his life, DNA and veterinary medicine. And he'd show me the molecule and things like that, But the thing is that my father used to say this, and he was one of the reasons why I came to Islam, because when I took my communion in the Lutheran church, I knew Luther's catechism like Al-Fatiha. And my mother could open up the catechism and ask me a question and I would recite it. She was really happy. And then I took my communion, and on a beautiful day in the spring, my father would sit back in the back of the church. He believed in God, but he was a man of great reason. And he took my hand and we were walking down the street together, and he said, "Larry," he said, "do you believe in the Trinity? Really?" And to me it was like, I didn't know what to say. I was shocked. It's like, you mean you don't? I mean, that's what's in my mind, because I really admired my father. You know, it's like, wait a minute, like, we're not on this together. We're not on the same page, you know? And then he just told me a story, which was a sort of a comical story about a Chinese sage whom a missionary tried to convert, and the Chinese sage told him that 1 and 3 don't go together. You know, that 1 is unicity and 3 is plurality. And that did it. It broke the Liberty Bell. You know, in the United States, we made the Liberty Bell, and when we first tried to ring it, liberty for all, it broke. That's a sign from God, isn't it? They never ever to fix it, but my Trinity was like that. It's like, bong, and then it broke. And the next week, I went back to my pastor, and I told him I have doubts about the Trinity. He thought I would be the next Martin Luther. You know, and he was shocked. He was jolted, and probably because he had doubts about it himself. The Trinity is a big problem, but may Allah Azza wa Jal, open our eyes, and may He let us understand this world that's around us. So, possible being. My father used to say, he said, I cannot look in the microscope, the electron microscope, and not believe in God. That's what he used to say. And that's because he had intellect. Because he knew that this cannot be by chance. The DNA molecule. I mean, this is a miracle, isn't it? All organic life that we know has this same basic DNA molecule, which is extremely complex. My father used to say that if you compare it to the computer is a child's toy. And you have this in the amoeba. You have this in the most simple animals. The molecule is not as long, but it's still basically the same. Even viruses, they plug into your DNA, right? They get into the cell and they take over the DNA and they change the code and they make it produce the virus instead of producing what it's supposed to be producing. These are miracles. And this cannot be by chance. Impossible. And any idea of evolution in which the evolution of species or of life just happens, comes out of the soup and it mixes itself, and totally impossible. Ignorance to the highest level. In the 19th century, the debate over evolution, among the greatest people that took part in that were people like Cuvier, who's at the end of the 18th century, the early part of the 19th century. He knew Lamarck. Lamarck begins the evolutionary theory debate in earnest, although his theory is laughable. And Lamarck is the one who believed that giraffes get long heads because they stretch, to eat the leaves, and then their child comes out with a little bit longer neck. The next one gets a longer neck, that you can inherit earned attributes. And Cuvier almost expelled him. Cuvier was a great scientist. He was one of the greatest scientists of his time, of the Enlightenment. He's the one who talked about the dinosaurs. He's the one who put the dinosaurs together. He's the one who talked about the ancient fishes of the sea. He was an incredible biologist. And then Agassiz is one of his students. He had other students as well. And they said that what Darwin talks about as the mechanism of evolution is the mechanism of the extinction of species. And as Cuvier pointed out, he said, if you give me the bone of any animal, any bone, he said, I can put the whole structure together. And I can tell you whether it ate meat or whether it grazed or whether it was omnivorous. Because he said, everything in this body is organically and integrally connected. And therefore, if you make any major change in the body, you would incapacitate the animal, or you would debilitate the animal or the human being, unless everything changes with it. So you can't just have a slight change in the eye and then another slight change in the eye. Everything has got to change together. This was his idea. And therefore, people like Cuvier and Agassiz and others, Agassiz was a great man. And he was from Switzerland, then he comes to the United States. He did incredible work in the United States, American biology and zoology and taxonomy and other things are basically the work of Agassiz. But he said that we believe in creative evolution. This is the real debate. The way that the evolutionary debate is often presented to us, it's like you have these clerics in the church that don't know anything anyway, and they're just, upset with Darwin because of some of the conclusions. That's part of the story, but the real debate is a scientific debate in the scientific community. Joseph Priestley, who is one of the great minds of Europe at the end of the 18th century, early 19th century, amazing person, Unitarian, who believed in the unity of God and who wrote about Christianity, who was a scientist. He's regarded as one of the fathers of oxygen. But one of the things that he insisted on is that when you study science, you must study the history of science. And I think this is really important for us because a lot of us do study science. Because when you study the history of the field, then you see the debates. Then you see how you ended up where you are. Pasteur, for example, will dominate the medical discourse of the West at the expense of Hahnemann. And Hahnemann, who is one of the fathers of homeopathy, he's just as good as Pasteur. He's better. He is also a great scientist. But Hahnemann is sort of forgotten. He's pushed to the side. And then Pasteur becomes everything. And you need to know the whole story. You need to go back and look at Hahnemann as well. And the same thing, in the great debate over evolution, most 19th century biologists believed in evolution, long before Darwin. But they believed in creative evolution, and they believed that evolution is one of the signs of God's existence, and that history is filled with the extinction of species. Although one of the things they insisted on, which is still valid to this day, is that species are demarcated. They are clearly distinct. We have no evidence of a species becoming another species. The species are set. And one of the ways that we define species is the fact that animals within a species can usually procreate. So if you cross a dog with a wolf, you will have a puppy that is a wolf and a dog. So that means that dogs and wolves belong to the same species. A donkey and a horse belong to the same species. If you cross them, you get what? A mule. The mule won't be able to reproduce. It's sterile, although it's an amazing animal. Strong. It has all the qualities of a donkey, strength, and other qualities, and it has also the qualities of a horse. Mules are amazing, but you take here the two limits of the species, and they can cross, so they belong to the same species. But you don't see species changing. This was the main argument, perhaps, against Darwin. Certainly one of the main arguments. And for that reason, the parents of Darwinian theory always talk about the missing links. They're still missing. And for that reason, 19th century biology also fundamentally concerned with archetypes. And this is something that is very germane to what we believe about reality. That archetypes play a major role in the structure of reality as God created it. This is not part of our creed, but it is part of our general spiritual and belief tradition. And I believe that it's valid. Some people might say, I don't believe it's valid, and you don't have to. That's not required. That's not obligatory. If you want to believe it, you're allowed to do that. If you don't want to believe it, not necessary. But one of the things they would do is to try to define what is the archetypical species? What is the archetypical human being? Adam. And today, a lot of scientists would just say, look at this metaphysical nonsense. Look at intruding upon science. No, that's not true. These are people who really were scientists, and they did profound things. So possible being, this is really important. And when we talk about God, again, you cannot know God if you do not know yourself. And the most important thing that you need to know about yourself and about myself is that we are weak, we are dependent, we are insignificant. We do not create ourselves. Everything I have is a freely given gift. Everything that you have is a freely given gift. Wake up. Wake up. Your eyes, your ears, your life. This is a wonder. But also belong to the realm of possible being. And possible being is the arena of creation. And it is a potential infinite. When we talk about infinity, we talk about potential infinites. And we talk about actual infinites. And actual infinites do not exist. We can talk about an infinite set in mathematics. And we can talk about how that set might be if it existed. Very few people, if anyone in mathematics, would ever say that an actual infinite set exists. You wouldn't be able to cross it if it did. Certain aspects that we can talk about. But potential infinites, that is that things they can change infinitely. The garden is a potential infinite. The fire is a potential infinite. You are also that way because your soul will never die. Allah created it that way. Your soul rooted in non-existence, your ruh. And your ruh lived in the world before this world, right? And inshallah we were all together there. That's what I hope. I don't know. I don't have that kind of ability, but we like each other. We relate to each other. If we don't, that's a dangerous thing. Al-arwahu junudun mujannada. The spirits, the arwah, are soldiers marshaled in armies. فَمَا تَعَارَفَ مِنْهَا ائْتَلَفَ. Those who recognize each other come together in harmony. Okay, that shows that inshallah we were in the same army. This army of the spirits doing tawaf around the throne of God for eons. That's you, that's your identity. Okay, and then at some time in that process, Allah brought us together in the loins of our father Adam. And He brought us to the plain of Arafat, where we go for pilgrimage. And He took us and put all of us and all generation of human beings in the wadi, in that valley that's between Arafat and between the Haram. And then He said, Alastu bi rabbikum. And we were like this big. We were like little ants. Some pure white. Inshallah, everyone here was like that. And some black. The ones of white are the people of beauty. The ones of black are the people of majesty. The ones of white are the people of the right hand. The ones of black are the people of the left hand. And inshallah, we'll try to talk about that also. And then He said, Alastu bi rabbikum. Am I Lord? And we knew that He is our God. God is the one who makes the cat a cat, makes the dog a dog, makes you, makes me, and makes Satan, Satan. This is the work of God. He makes things according to His infinite knowledge and wisdom as they ought to be in infinite wisdom. Unknown wisdom to me and perhaps to you. But the Lord, Ar-Rabb, He is the one who commands and prohibits. Do this and don't do this. Do not eat of this tree. Do not eat of that meat. You're not allowed to, whether you understand it or not. Don't eat of that. I have the prerogative to command, and you have the responsibility to obey. And He is also the one who educates. Yurabbi. He is the one who brings us out of darkness into light. He is the one who makes you know. He is the one who makes you understand. That's the Rabb. And this was a big question. Am I not your Lord? Meaning that what's happening? In other words, like, we've been doing tawaf around the throne of God for an infinity of time. And inshallah, we were together. That's why we know her. Even though you have a gender, now you have a body, maybe you're white, maybe you're black, whatever you may be. I ended up in America, you ended up maybe in Pakistan, or South Africa, or Argentina, okay? But we were together, and now we're back together, okay? And we recognize each other, and therefore we can work together. We can cooperate. Inshallah, maybe we can be together the rest of our lives and never have differences. May that be the case. Maybe we solve all of our differences. We've got to build. We've got to be like these people who built, who worked. This is what we have to do. Inshallah, we can do it. وَمَا تَنَاكَرَ مِنْهَا اخْتَلَفَ. And those who do not recognize each other, comfortable with each other, they don't like each other, and they don't get along. And you can't bring them together. Very difficult to do that. They are different armies. So like, I never saw you before in my life. Never saw you before in my existence. Everybody here, it's like, we've known each other a long time. How many hours now? Like this brother, I met him 2 days ago, but it's like we've known each other for how many thousands of years? Right? No, that's the truth. That's the truth. So, the ruh comes from that world, and then through the wombs of our blessed mothers, we come into this world. And the womb is called the raham, because this is the place of mercy. And mercy, the basic quality of mercy is not forgiveness. The basic quality of mercy is not pardon. The basic quality of mercy, as manifested in the name Ar-Rahman, is that God gives you everything you need to be what you're supposed to be. He gives you your eyes, your ears, your heart, your strength, your health. And in the womb, the baby's given fingernails. The baby's given ears. The baby's given eyes. The baby's given, gums in which his or her teeth can grow. The baby's given a heart that beats. The baby's given everything that he or she needs to be a human being, or to be a lion, or to be a or to be, other animal. The eggs are also like that too. Crocodiles come out of eggs, and birds, they're given that, And, the bird, when it sits on the egg, rachama, that's how we say that the bird sits on its eggs, rachama. It's almost like rahama. It's just the kha instead of the ha. Okay? So out of this mercy, then we come into this world for the test. This world is the shortest of them all. Thank God. This is a test. This is a hard test, a difficult test. May you keep your head above the water. May you be strong. And the most important thing, may your link to God be you and Him. You need community. You need brothers and sisters. May we be the community of each other always and not break that. But you can't depend on human beings. You have to turn your back on creation. Because if the strength of my religion is based on the people around me, I would have lost it a long time ago. You've got to have this personal relationship which keeps you going no matter what. And that's why we have to know our Lord. And that most beautiful thing in our life must be that direct relationship to our Lord. And then after this world, we go into another womb. And what's the name of that womb? The tomb, the grave, where you and I are both going. Some people don't go to the grave, they drown at sea, right? But we call it the world of the tomb because generally that's what happens. People go into the tomb, they die. And then they go into the next world. What's it called? Barzakh. Barzakh, the intermediary world. It is huge. These people are in Barzakh. And they see you and they know you. And they are in the garden. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And some people in the Barzakh are in the fire. But the Barzakh is on the earth, under the earth, in the sky. It's huge. And people are there for many years. sometimes thousands and thousands of years. And then you have the fourth life, which is what? The resurrection. Inshallah, we'll talk about that because that's part of our creed.